The elements of natural healing. Have you ever noticed how certain natural elements seem to speak directly to your soul? Perhaps it's the gentle rhythm of waves rolling onto shore, softening the sharp edges of your thoughts, or the dappled sunlight filtering through a canopy of leaves, restoring a sense of peace that had gradually slipped away in the indoor world. Maybe it's the expansive vista from a hillside, expanding not just your view, but something essential within you. These aren't simply pleasant sensory experiences, but powerful medicine for your psychological state, elements that have nurtured human well-being since our earliest days. While the previous chapter explored our broad evolutionary connection to nature, this chapter delves into the specific natural elements that research has identified as particularly potent for psychological restoration. Understanding these elements allows you to incorporate them more intentionally into your living spaces and daily routines, creating environments that support your mental well-being even when full immersion in nature isn't possible. Water, the fluid source of serenity. Of all natural elements, water perhaps speaks most directly to our psychological core. The sight and sound of water, what researchers now call blue spaces, consistently demonstrate remarkable effects on human psychology, regardless of cultural background or personal history. These effects are so reliable that they've earned their own term in environmental psychology. The blue mind state, characterized by calm alertness, reduced stress hormones, and enhanced contemplative capacity. Why is water so captivating? Water environments offer a unique combination of sensory qualities that seem perfectly calibrated to human psychological needs. The visual simplicity combined with constant subtle movement creates what attention researchers call soft fascination, enough stimulation to hold attention without demanding effortful focus. Meanwhile, the rhythmic sounds and, in some cases, negative ion production can create physiological conditions that directly counter stress activation. Research consistently demonstrates water's powerful effects. An important study published in the journal Health Place in 2016 by researchers White, Alcock, Wheeler, and Fleming examined data from over 20,000 participants across England and found that people living with views of water reported significantly better psychological well-being than those without such views, even after controlling for socioeconomic factors. Laboratory studies show that simply listening to water sounds can reduce cortisol levels and blood pressure more effectively than artificial white noise or silence, suggesting water's effects operate through innate biological pathways. Different water forms appear to offer somewhat different psychological benefits. Oceans and large lakes provide what environmental psychologists call extent, a sense of vastness that helps shift perspective from immediate concerns to broader horizons. This expansiveness appears particularly valuable for breaking rumination cycles. The rhythmic, predictable quality of waves also seems to entrain brainwave patterns toward more relaxed states. Flowing water, rivers, streams, waterfalls, combines movement with sound in ways that capture attention while allowing mental restoration. The continuous renewal inherent in flowing water appears to facilitate cognitive refreshment, with studies showing improved performance on creative problem-solving tasks following exposure to running water environments. Even small water features demonstrate measurable effects. Research conducted at the University of Exeter found that adding small desktop fountains to office environments created notable stress reduction among nearby workers. Similarly, studies in healthcare settings show that waiting rooms with water features reduce patient anxiety more effectively than those with other amenities. Water's value lies in its multisensory quality, visual movement, rhythmic sound, microclimatic effects, and even beneficial negative ion production. This sensory richness creates redundant pathways for psychological benefit. While direct access to natural water bodies provides the most profound benefits, even symbolic or simulated water, like photographs or recordings, can offer psychological value, albeit at a lower intensity. Green spaces, the vegetation connection. If water forms the blues in nature's psychological symphony, vegetation provides the essential greens, the plant elements consistently linked to improved mental health. From forest immersion to houseplants, connecting with living green things appears to satisfy something fundamental in human psychology. The research on vegetation's benefits has grown exponentially, with strong evidence from forest bathing studies, urban green space research, and indoor planting investigations. Forest bathing research, studies of the Japanese practice of Shinrin-yoku, or deliberate immersion in forest environments, demonstrates remarkable physiological effects. A comprehensive analysis published in Environmental Research examined 20 studies and found that forest exposure consistently reduced cortisol levels, blood pressure, and pulse rate while increasing parasympathetic nervous system activity associated with relaxation. The mechanisms appear to involve both psychological factors and direct biochemical effects, such as trees releasing compounds called phytoncides, which, when inhaled, can increase natural killer cell activity. These effects can begin within 15 minutes of forest exposure. Urban green space research reveals that even smaller doses of vegetation provide significant psychological benefits. A landmark longitudinal study tracking nearly 10,000 UK residents over 18 years, published by researchers Alcock, White, Wheeler, and others, found that living near greener urban areas was associated with significantly better mental health outcomes, showing a dose-response relationship. What's remarkable is that these benefits come from everyday urban plantings, street trees, small parks, residential gardens, not just pristine wilderness. Indoor plant research completes the picture, demonstrating that even contained vegetation within built environments provides psychological benefits. A comprehensive review published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology analyzed dozens of studies and found consistent evidence that indoor plants improve stress reduction, attention restoration, and subjective well-being. Particularly strong effects emerge for attention and concentration. Certain qualities of vegetation appear particularly beneficial. Biodiversity, variety in plant types, correlates with enhanced psychological benefit, as research from the University of Sheffield team led by Fuller and colleagues suggests. Seasonal variation, plants that visibly change with the seasons, provides a psychologically grounding temporal connection. Layered vegetation, ground cover, mid-level shrubs, and tree canopy creates a pleasurable complexity and stronger stress reduction effects. The psychological power of plants likely reflects their fundamental role in human evolutionary history, creating the sensory environment within which our perceptual systems evolved. Natural light, the rhythm keeper. While water and vegetation provide powerful environmental medicine, natural light might be the most fundamental natural element for psychological health. It's the timer that regulates your body's internal rhythms and the signal that coordinates countless biological processes affecting mood, energy, and cognitive function. Natural daylight provides specific wavelengths at specific times that trigger hormonal responses, impacting everything from alertness to immune function. When these light signals become disrupted, the consequences ripple throughout our psychological state. Research reveals several pathways for natural light's influence. Circadian regulation is perhaps the most crucial. Your body's master clock in the hypothalamus depends on light signals, particularly morning light in the blue wavelength range, 450 hours to 400 nm, to maintain proper timing of hormones like cortisol, peaking in early morning, and melatonin, rising in the evening. Disruption to these rhythms through inadequate daylight, common in indoor dominant lifestyles, creates circadian dysregulation associated with increased risk of mood disorders and cognitive impairment. Studies show office workers in windowless environments report poorer sleep and higher rates of depression. Natural light influences mood through direct pathways. Sunlight exposure increases serotonin production, a neurotransmitter linked to positive mood. This helps explain seasonal patterns in mood disorders, with depression rates often rising during darker winter months. For those with seasonal affective disorder, SAD, which according to the National Institute of Mental Health affects approximately 6% of the U.S. population severely and up to 14% in milder forms, morning exposure to bright full-spectrum light, e.g., at 10,000 lux for 30 minutes, can produce antidepressant effects comparable to some medications. Natural light also enhances cognitive performance. Studies comparing performance under different lighting consistently find advantages for full-spectrum lighting resembling natural daylight over limited-spectrum artificial lighting, suggesting multiple pathways of influence beyond mood effects. What distinguishes natural light isn't just intensity, but also its spectral composition, directional properties, and variation patterns, which provide environmental information and visual interest. While newer technologies can mimic some properties, actual daylight exposure often remains superior. This understanding has led to daylighting principles in architecture, recognizing light as a biological and psychological need, not just a functional necessity. Fractal patterns, nature's visual mathematics. Beyond water, vegetation, and light, another natural element whose psychological power has recently gained scientific recognition is fractal patterns. The self-similar shapes repeated across different scales that characterize many natural formations like fern fronds, tree branching, and mountain ranges. These patterns, with fractal dimensions typically between 1.3 and 1.5, appear consistently throughout nature and resonate deeply with human perception. This power seems to lie in their mathematical properties, creating what researchers call perceptual fluency, a state where your visual system processes information efficiently without understimulation or overwhelm, triggering positive physiological responses. This helps explain why views of natural scenery, rich in fractals, are more restorative than views of built environments dominated by Euclidean geometry. Your visual system evolved to process these natural patterns. Interestingly, certain art forms, like Jackson Pollock's drip paintings and many indigenous art traditions, leverage similar fractal properties. Your nervous system responds to these mathematical properties automatically, meaning even brief glances at nature-rich scenes provide genuine psychological benefit. The research on fractal patterns and stress reduction demonstrates measurable effects on physiological markers, like skin conductance and cortisol levels. These effects appear to be influenced by several factors, including viewing duration, specific fractal dimension, and individual differences in visual processing. The consistency of these findings across multiple studies suggests a genuine and measurable relationship between fractal visual patterns and human psychological response. Integrating natural elements, the biophilic approach. While we've examined these natural elements separately, their most powerful psychological benefits typically emerge through integration, the combined presence of water, vegetation, natural light, and fractal patterns working in harmony. This integrated approach forms the foundation of biophilic design, an emerging discipline that systematically incorporates natural elements and patterns into built environments to enhance human well-being. Biophilic design isn't about literal indoor forests, but about understanding the essential qualities of natural environments that support human psychological functioning and translating those into design decisions, from room furnishings to building orientation. It recognizes that thoughtfully designed environments can incorporate these elements to support psychological health even in primarily built settings. Hospital rooms with natural views, offices with daylight, homes with indoor plants, all represent points along a continuum of biophilic integration, each offering genuine benefits. Research increasingly confirms these benefits translate to measurable outcomes. Healthcare. Patients in rooms with natural views recover faster and require less pain medication. Facilities with biophilic elements show reduced patient stress and improved staff performance. Workplaces. Offices with natural elements, daylight, vegetation views, demonstrate improved employee cognitive performance, reduced absenteeism, and higher job satisfaction. These benefits often translate to productivity improvements far exceeding implementation costs. Education. Classrooms with natural light and views support better student attention and learning outcomes. Schools with outdoor learning spaces show particular advantages for students with attention challenges. Residences. Homes with stronger connections to natural elements correlate with improved sleep quality, reduced stress, and higher reported well-being. These diverse research findings reveal that natural elements aren't luxuries but essential psychological resources. By understanding their specific mechanisms, we can incorporate them more intentionally, creating spaces that nurture rather than deplete. As we navigate increasingly indoor lives, consciously incorporating these natural elements becomes essential for psychological health. The water that soothes, the plants that restore attention, the light that regulates rhythms, the fractal patterns that ease visual processing, these elements together create conditions for a mind that can find stimulation and rest, challenge and recovery, engagement and restoration. In the chapters ahead, we'll translate this understanding into practical strategies. The goal is not environmental perfectionism, but increased awareness and intentionality, recognizing nature not just as a pleasant amenity, but as an essential resource for psychological health in modern life.